Another aspect of algebra is completing the square, perfect square. It has different names. The main idea is that we have a quadratic equation given to us. And sorry, let's read the question. The function g is defined for x by, and we have the function g, and it is a quadratic equation. So I have a quadratic equation. And then they are telling me that write that same function g in the following form. So it's writing it in a basically different form. This form we are having here is ax to the power of 2 plus bx plus c. That's the general form, that's usual form we are using, but then there is this form. So how can I do that? There are two ways of doing that, or actually I should say three ways of solving that. So one of them is a little bit trial and error. So basically, we are trying to work out what numbers we will add up, what numbers we take to the power of 2 to get a specific values. My opinion problem with that is that it takes time. And if the equation is a little bit more complex, it kind of takes time to figure it out. Then the second option, there is a formula that we can use. Now, the problem with that formula is that the formula is not in our tables. So we have to know it off heart. Now, what's the problem with that? You have a lot of things that you need to know it, that you have to learn, that you have to remember. There is no point of adding you another formula, especially that completing the square doesn't come up that often on your leaving cert. Yeah, if it was there every year, I will tell you yes, definitely know the formula because it's handy to know. But since it's not there, then the last option that we can do, and that's the one I favor, is by comparing coefficient. Why do I favor that method? Because you don't need to remember any formulas, and the advantage of that formula or advantage of that method is that it's inapplicable in other aspects of your maths calculation. So it is a really handy idea to know. So how does it work? On one side of the equation, I am taking my completing the square. That's the way I want it to look like. And on the other side, I am taking the given equation. And as that method is saying, what am I going to do? I'm going to compare. So take values from one side and take values from the other side. Yeah, when we are comparing something, we are talking about two different things, isn't it? Whether they are numbers or whether they are shoes or whether they are dress or whether they are, I don't know, meal. We take two different things and we compare. And then what is that we are comparing? Coefficient. What is a coefficient? Coefficient is that number that stands in front of our variable, isn't it? Or like in this case, is the number here. It doesn't have a variable. It doesn't change. So first of all, I need to change the way this look so that I can identify what do I have on this side of the equation that will stand beside x to the power of 2, what will stand beside x, and what not going to have x beside it. Now, one thing that you should know, this value here, the one in front of the bracket here, always is the same as this value here, because that is a, it's always the same. So straight away, I know I don't need to figure out what that value is. I know it's going to be 5. Okay, so now I need to take this bracket to the power of 2. How do we take a bracket to the power of 2? So when I have two values, two numbers or letters involving it to the power of 2, it will equal to the first number in the bracket to the power of 2 plus 2 multiplied by the first number in the bracket multiplied by the second number in the bracket plus second number in the bracket to the power of 2. So let's apply that here. First number to the power of 2, that will be x to the power of 2, then plus 2 multiplied by the first number in the bracket multiplied by the second number in the bracket plus second number in the bracket to the power of 2. And then the rest of that equation, don't forget, plus k. And then the values we have on the other side. Let's just copy and paste so that we don't lose them. Okay, Then the next thing to do is just to multiply the bracket by 5 so that we can identify those coefficients. So 5x to the power of 2, 5 multiplied by 2, that will be 10. Let's write first h and then x, and then 5 by h to the power of 2 is 5, h to the power of 2 plus k. And again, just copy paste the other side of the equation. So now let's identify our coefficients. So like we said, this number that stands beside x to the power of 2 is exactly the same like on the other side. Yes, that is true. 5 is 5 on both sides of the equation. Now let's have a look what coefficient stand beside x with no power. So on this side of the equation, I have 10h, and that is the same as the coefficient on the other side of the equation that stands as well beside x, which is 20. Well, in this case, I can find the value of h, isn't it? Because here I have 10h, which is 10 multiplied by h. And if I want to get rid of multiplication, we divide, and we divide both sides of the equation, because 10 divided by 10 is 1, and 1 multiplied by h is h. So h equal 20 divided by 10, we put that in the calculator, and we get is 2. So then we are left with the last part of our, let's get a different color. No, I have red. Okay, green. No, let's get this one. Sorry. So that's our last one. So here on this side of the equation, I have 5. I have h to the power of 2. And then I have k plus k. And on the other side, we have minus 12. Now at this stage, we already know that h is 2, so we can replace that h. So that will be 5 multiplied by 2 to the power of 2 plus k equal 12, equal minus 12. I want the value of 12, so I take that to the other side of the equation. Minus 12 is here, and then what happens when I move number from one side to the other side, I change the sign. And yes, you can do that multiplication. Like, I'm not saying you have to move it that way. I'm just showing you how the numbers are moving. And then we take all of that, we put that in our calculator, and we get that the value of k is 32. So now we can replace that h with 2 and that k with minus 32, and we know a is the same, will be 5. So our g equation will be 5 bracket x plus 2 instead of h to the power of 2, and instead of k minus 32. And there it is, a different form. I am encouraging you to know how to use that method, comparing coefficient, because it has much wider application than knowing the formula. Apart from that, you can forget the formula always, so don't remember it correctly. And then the trial and error part.